Hey everybody, I'm so excited for this Zoom tonight. We get the question a lot when we talk about how when you are following up with someone, when you're reaching out to someone about Thrive, not everybody jumps on and says, "Oh, yay, sure, you asked me about this thing I don't know anything about and I'll order." A lot of times it takes multiple contacts with them. It takes multiple connections, and we get the question a lot about what does that look like, what specifically does that look like. Well, I will tell you, you are going to hear different from different people tonight, because there's not a copy paste verbiage of what that looks like for every person. Every person's different, every conversation is different. But I wanted to grab Melanie and Lydia because they are really, really good at follow up. They're very consistent in their follow up, and I wanted you to hear it from them. I also asked them to grab a couple of conversations from people that it maybe took them a while to follow up with that finally said yes, so that you can see what that looked like. For me, when Maria first reached out, guys, she was on it, and I didn't even know then that she was on it. She reached out and first asked if she could chat with me on the phone, and then she shared with me about it. I wasn't interested. She said, "Oh, I completely understand, but will you do me a favor and create a free account so that when you change your mind, I want you thriving with me?" And I created a free account. But when we got that phone call before I got home, by the time I got home in my messenger, she had sent me the link. She said, "Hey, thanks for being willing to check this out." And she sent me the link. And then I clicked the link and I created the free account. And from there was, "Hey, check out our fan page. If you like it, you'll see some different stories of people that are really loving this Thrive. And maybe you'll understand more why I'm so excited about it." Super simple like that. So I like the fan page. Well, then these stories are coming across, and then it would be a message of, "Hey girl, did you get a chance to check that out?" And I wouldn't respond because I didn't want to sound rude and say no. So I was super polite and just ignored her. And so, guys, when people are ignoring you, they're not ignoring you. They're not thinking that, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe she messaged me. How dare she? I hate her. Oh my gosh." Like, they're not thinking that. We think that when they're ignoring us, but they're not thinking that. I saw a friend the other day make a post that said, if you didn't get it, if you sent me a message and I didn't respond, I'm not ignoring you. Something happened. I'm a squirrel and I completely forgot that you messaged me. And isn't that true about life? So in my case, I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. And in some people's case, we are just busy and life happens, and then we're like 2 weeks later, "Oh man, what, Melanie, somebody messaged me. What was she messaging me about?" Like, we're just normal humans, and your friends that need Thrive, they're normal humans that need Thrive, and they have life happening. So I wanted to kind of set that up so you understand what that means. And every follow-up is going to be different. And just because somebody doesn't answer you does not mean don't message them again. And so I was so thankful that Maria did continue to message me. And guys, she mixed it up. Sometimes she messaged me in Messenger on Facebook. Sometimes she messaged me in text on my phone. So it wasn't the same medium every time, right? It was just something different. Like, she'd shoot a text or in the Messenger. I think most was Messenger, but we did have some text also. Um, and it was, if there was a promo or if there was a special, she'd say, "Hey girl, I got $50 off. It ends tomorrow." And I couldn't do it. I couldn't afford it, so I wouldn't respond. And then sometimes I'd respond. I'd say, "Hey, I'm so sorry it's taken me forever to get back to you. I'm just really, really busy, and these kids keep me crazy with all their racing." And she said, "Oh, it's totally fine. I get it, girl. Life is crazy. Hey, what kind of racing?" So, like, she's like, "Wait, tell me more about your kids." So she was asking me, what kind of racing? What are they doing? She wasn't seeing that in my feed, even though dirt biking is all over my feed. But she was asking, she was interested. And I told her, about how we're go, go, go because of racing. She's like, oh girl, you really need this product in your body. Like that. So it did. She asked me about my kids, and then it set it up to where she was leading back in with Thrive because it was right there. It was the perfect answer for what I was telling her. So with that, I'm going to jump over to Lydia. Lydia, I'm going to go first because I know that Melanie was one of yours that took a few follow-ups. So introduce yourself and just kind of tell us, what does that look like? You following up, you first, how you reach out, and then following up.
Okay, hi y'all. My name is Lydia Laws. I'm here in the Woodlands area, and I have been with Lavelle for almost 6 years, which is crazy. And so with that, I have reached out and touched out and talked to and ran into a lot of people. And I find that over the years, my strategy's changed here and there, but at the end of the day, there's always the follow-up that's the most important. And there was a few things that I thought about when Amber came to me about sharing this with y'all, because first of all, when I started, I get a lot from newer people, especially, and I found myself in the same spot, is when I started this business and was, my warm market, I'd reach out to them, and some of them jumped on board and others did not. And I found, looking back, that I kept kind of reaching out and following up with the same people. And it's good to do that, but at the same time, you can find yourself kind of in a rat race, right? Because they're not ready. And I was in that same position at that time. I had just hit 4K, and I realized at that moment, like, whoa, like I'm doing really well following up, but I've got to kind of work other angles and follow up with different people and bring different people in at the same time. And so that was something that I slowly worked on and getting better at. If I met somebody out in public, making sure I got their contact information. I can't even tell y'all, a couple of years ago when I was going through contacts in my phone of old messages that strand back to, seems like the golden years. And y'all, I missed so much. I was so unorganized, okay? Because I started not thinking anything of it, and like a chicken with my head cut off, and I realized I had all these people from vendor events and things like that, and I had their phone number, but I didn't have their name and saved in my phone. So my first big thing is get yourself organized, whatever that is for you. Is it going through your contacts and getting organized? Is it printing out your Facebook list again, because it's been a while? And going, getting that list of names, because if you've got people there that you are ready to go after and to follow up with, it's going to be so much easier for you, and you're not going to find yourself in that overthinking. And I've done that because I'm an overthinker naturally, so I really have to watch myself. You won't find yourself in that overthinking part of it where you're just like, you feel stuck because you're not organized. Okay. So big thing there that I started off way wrong. And I found that as I've gotten organized, it's been better. With my reach outs, I really try to connect with people on a level that, is about them. I'm a twin mom, so that's a huge connection aspect for me. That will definitely bring me into Melanie, because Melanie is my personally enrolled. And when I saw her on Facebook, we hadn't talked in 20 years. She was by far not my warm market. I did not think that was going to be my next 80K leader by any means. So when I reached out to her, and honestly, guys, it's funny. I look back at these messages and I'm kind of like, ooh, I could have done that better. But this was a long time ago, so I've learned a lot since then. But just to kind of give you an example, let me get to Melanie's up here. I've got a few that I was going to share with y'all. So when I first reached out to her, it was in 2015. And I kind of gave her a little too much information. So my first thing would tell y'all is don't get over, like, you're going to lose them. And I find, looking back, especially when I first started, I was so excited. I was telling people a lot of stuff, and it was literally kind of scaring them. I think they were like, whoa, sister, like you just threw up on me. Y'all have heard that saying. So when I first reached out, I kind of did throw up on Melanie. Sorry, Melanie, I kind of did. And it was as simple as, I know you've probably seen my post about Thrive and Lavelle. And at that point, I was saying I was in a contest for free accounts because I think maybe I don't know what they were doing at that time. I asked for her email, and that she's not committing to anything. It's just, no credit card or purchase required, just your email. Thanks for your help. Completely ignored me, no response at all. The second one, I kind of went back to her, and I don't know how Melanie ended up saying yes, y'all, because my follow-ups, this is kind of like an example of kind of maybe to mix it up a bit, like, because these weren't as good. How are you? I hope you're doing well. This obviously was back from Vegas at this time. I'm like, I just heard news from Vegas. And I wanted to share what I learned with you. Here's the YouTube. So I was using the free tools. I was using the free link, you guys. I was using the free tools, but I probably could have shortened some stuff. We didn't have voice at this time. She ignored me again. The third time, finally, I got her email, but that's all I got. She didn't really say much more. And like these emails span, this message spans from, okay, it was January 2015, again in March. So there was a little time in between there, maybe too much time. And then again in August. So I kind of dropped the ball, really, you guys. That's kind of too much to August in some ways. So with that, I reached out to her there, asked for her email, and I had a different verbiage. Wanted to ask you if I can have your email to add you to my free network, no spam or obligation. We have some exciting things coming. When you want to thrive with me, I'd love to help you out, whatever. And then she finally did. That was in August 2015, free account. I sent her customer link and information, so she'd have it. And then that was that, okay? That was in August, and it was not until December was she ready to even try Thrive, okay? And during that time, of course, I was posting. So really what led Melanie back to me is, number one, I was fresh in her mind. I was posting on Facebook, but I was also behind the scene, maybe not the perfect messages, but I was messaging her. And it took 5 times. And I saw she commented on my post, because that was I didn't comment on my actual post on Facebook, y'all. I went to Messenger to handle that, right? Because I said, hi, Melanie, I saw you commented on my post. Are you interested in a 3-day starter pack of Thrive? And she said, I'd like to try it. This was December. I guess depending on what thinks. So I told her smart sample like crazy. That's a whole nother training. But she had to sign up to the website, go to the fan page, message me your address, like all that kind of good stuff, okay? Got it in the mail. Also did 3-way with Mitzi at that time. I remember that vividly. And honestly, guys, what happened is it didn't go right away because she didn't send me all the info I needed. So I had to follow up with her again, even though she said she wanted the sample. She didn't send me all the information. So it was a few days later, I reached back, hey girl, let me know if you still want one. I only have a few left. I normally charge $20, but this one's free, Oh, yes, I do. And then she sent me the rest of the information. So with that said, y'all, that's 6 messages that span over, like, I don't know how long that was, January of 2015 to December of 2015. And the rest after that's kind of history. She ended up joining me the end of December on New Year's Eve is when she ordered for the first time ever. So that's a lot of messages.
Well, I want to touch on that really quick. I want to kind of touch on that and then bring on Melanie, because one, I didn't know that she came on New Year's Eve. Guys, I mean, think about it. There's a lot of people that basically New Year's Eve or the beginning of January, that's when they've made their decision that they need something different or something to happen in their life. And so don't think, oh, nobody's going to come on board over the holidays. That's when people are like, okay, I'm at my wit's end. I need something, So Melanie, I want to jump over to you. I want to ask, what was going through your mind as Lydia sent you these messages, just like when you weren't responding, and then from there?
Sure. Super simple. I was home with twins taking care of my grandfather, and I wasn't the social bug. So all this social media and take a look at this YouTube channel, I just didn't have time for it. So I just ignored it because I didn't have the time for it. although I wanted something for myself and I knew Lydia from way back when, I honestly just didn't take the time for it. But what was intriguing to me is when she put up the post and said she'd send out a sample and comment chocolate or vanilla. And I thought chocolate sounded really good that day.
Okay, there. That is awesome. Okay, guys, all that Lydia sent her and chocolate is what intrigued Melanie. So, all right, Melanie, from there, let us know, and we'll go back and forth between the two of y'all. I know Lydia's got another couple of examples or another example of what to say and follow-ups and some newer, now that we've been here a little bit and learned our lessons, follow-ups. But Melanie, because I laugh because I've done the same thing. Melanie, what does follow-up look like for you?
Okay, so since, like I was saying, I never really was a social bug, and sending the long messages and stuff, I guess, didn't honestly really intrigue me in Messenger. So when I started, I felt like the shorter the message to someone, the better. And at the same time, I also didn't want to have to explain and answer questions. So my go-to was always super sweet and quick. I just started Thrive. I'm loving this, or hey, I'm feeling great. Just reaching out to my friends, either through my text messages in my phone or in Messenger. And hey, do you have 5 minutes to chat? I think you'd dig this. I really want to share it with you. And they would come back, well, what is Thrive? Because at that time in my area, it was super fresh. And so that was my opportunity to say, do you have 5 minutes to chat? And I did have a lot of friends that, were open to that and would let me call them. And I just really, I'm really big on the 3-way calls and stuff. And again, I did not, and still feel kind of vulnerable and don't want to answer those crazy questions, although I probably can answer a lot of them. I still like the validation. So I use that a lot, and I still do, as far as when can you chat? And then I share a little bit of my story, and I always grab my upline to give me that validation. That is just always my go-to. It's what's worked for me, and I've felt the most comfortable with. And so that's what I use.
Okay, so question for people that they're not quite there yet to that point that they're getting on the phone with you. What does that follow-ups look like? Like maybe they need 10 follow-ups. What does that look like if it's maybe somebody that you're not really quite in a super friendly relationship with, but they're not necessarily your cold market either, like you're trying to create a relationship, but they're also your acquaintances. Like what does that look like?
Sure. So especially on Facebook and stuff, because I really want to stay in their news feed. And I know with the algorithms and all that, it's super crazy right now. But, not always Thrive related. If I see something that pops up, I'll go comment on their post. But then I'll also go back and go into their Messenger and say something like, hey, friend, that was an awesome picture. Who did your photography? Or something like that. I just really try to stay in their news feed as much as possible, so they don't hate me and ghost me. I don't always want to throw up Thrive on them, even though most of my friends, I have shared Thrive with them. And a lot of times I get a much, much better response, and I keep the conversation going if it's about family or friends, or, what movie did you go see, or something like that. But, if I bring up Thrive, sometimes they're just like, they don't respond.
Right. And it's that, hey, what do we hear? And now it's people need to know, like, and trust you. And so
Yes.
if you're messaging them and you're paying attention to them and you're putting yourself out there, well, they're beginning to know you. And plus they're seeing you in their feed. If they're in your feed and you're keeping that up, then you're talking and real conversations. Well, now they're trusting you, and they're liking you, obviously, because they haven't unfriended you. So you're
Right.
doing those things. And then, guys, it's that just popping that message out there, like, hey, I saw your post about being exhausted. Girl, have you seen all my crazy Thrive posts? I promise it works. Like then when they're posting stuff, because they're your friend, right? Like if your friend posts, okay, I need to go to the eye doctor, who's got the eye doctor for me, then they're going to send them a message or a comment on there about their eye doctor. So if somebody says, hey, I'm tired, then Melanie's gonna tell him, hey, I've got what you need. If somebody says, hey, I'm really looking for, old age vitamins, or whatever, because we're getting older and we hear we have to have vitamins, and that's the perfect time to be like, I've got what you need. It's super simple and it works. And so that's some of that follow up as well. Lydia, what are your thoughts on that? Following along with working the relationship and then being able to comment or message.
I think now more than ever, the Facebook algorithms, it's imperative that you interact with people. And that's one reason that recently I reprinted my friends list so I can kind of rehash it out. Who have I not really seen in my feed lately? Because if you start that connection and say they comment on something like you're talking about, it no longer becomes weird when you're in the messenger. If you go to their messenger and they commented something or you're trying to help them out with something, you're carrying on a connection in the messenger, and it can lead to other stuff. Kind of an example of that just happened to me the other day. A friend from, I don't even know if we were in middle school together, middle school, I think. And I hadn't seen her in, I don't know, 30 years. Anyways, it took me a minute to click, like, that's Sharon, shoot, I remember her. Well, anyway, she commented on one of my posts, and it was a little bit Thrive related, but kind of not, it was a lifestyle kind of thing. And anyway, went behind a messenger and chatted with her. And my first approach to her was, oh my gosh, girl, how are you doing? It's been forever. And it led into, well, what do you do? Well, what do you do? I do this, I do that. Come to find out, she lives in the same town as my brother and knows my nephew. He's kind of, you can't miss him. But with that, I mean, it's funny how, it's funny how all that comes together, but it's just trying to don't think so hard of what to say, just kind of go with what's going on. And if you're posting enough on Facebook and you're being intentional about your post and not making it all thrive, where you're bringing people into you, it's so much easier to have those conversations outside of it and have that follow up with people because you have something to go back to. Oh girl, how did that recipe work out that you loved? Oh, how did that doctor, did you get to check them out or did you end up using somebody else? I mean, you have something to go back to, especially if you're like me and don't erase any messages. I have everything, scroll back, all of Melanie's from way back when, and it took me a while. So I always reflect back of where we left off, where we started. And sometimes it's just a compliment, Amber. There's some people on my feed I don't know very well. So I might see the way they edit their pictures and I'm thinking, man, they got some really good looking pictures, right? So something so simple, I reached out to one girl one time and come to find out that's her business. But my approach to her was, girl, I just have to tell you, your pictures rock. I love seeing them on my feed. That was that, and we did get into a little conversation about what she does and what I do. And that was that. She didn't seem very interested. I really wasn't interested in learning her techniques necessarily, but it was still that connection. And you never know when it may come back around and she will be ready. So I don't know. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yes. And well, here, let's, cause I don't want to be too long, but I wanted people to have ideas of what those follow-up messages sounded like, but also let's talk about, like you said, you have to be organized. So what does that look like when someone is doing all the things that y'all just said, that you're commenting on people's posts? Let's say you told Sarah her pictures are gorgeous. You gave Stacy a recipe and you asked Samantha where she went to vacation. Are you keeping notes of all these people? Are you writing that down and so that when all of a sudden Samantha hasn't been in your feed for a month? I mean, what is, because you're not sending Thrive messages
right
per se, but you're contacting. So I feel like that is something that for me, I need to remember and write down, okay, because guys, here's the thing. This is work, this is the work that we do to grow our business because we do want this business to be our full time, right? So that we have the time with our families. And so putting in the work, this is the work. And some of that work is math, right? It's how many follow-ups, check, next to Susie's name, and that's some of it. So go ahead.
Some of what I do is I have a calendar. Okay. I don't necessarily play that calendar game, but I have a section on the side of my calendar that I have like a sticker that actually says follow up. And if they have a free account that maybe I signed up in the month of January, that's where their name goes, because I want them, I want it right there, because I look at my calendar every single morning. Like, what do I have scheduled today? What do the kids have? Do I have a Zoom? Do I have whatever? So those names are really fresh, brand new contacts right there. I'm working them a little bit more aggressively, so to speak. If they have a free account, I'll write that. A lot of times I'll write what group they were from. If they were from a group that I ended up having a chat with them, I wrote their name down, even if we're not Facebook friends yet, because they came from a group. And if it's somebody that it's kind of that same thing, like I do write their name down, and then I kind of go from there as we continue. I have a 5 spiral notebook now that I keep track of. Here's my customers, here's my samplers, here's my, my promoters, whatever, and my potentials. That's the biggest one, is the potentials, and having the names, adding to that list. So those days where I'm going, you know what, last week was kind of a bummer, I've already followed up with these people, who else can I run to? I've got my potential section that I can go to. And so that is, and it's overwhelming to get organized like that, Amber. It really is. I think it's been a huge process for me. I mean, I've been here almost 6 years, and I feel like I'm still working in that, like I'm still perfecting it, that what works for me.
So am I, because honestly, like I think I'm such a, I get that probably from my grandmother. Like she reorganizes her furniture all the time, like moves everything around. And my mom is always like making fun of her about that. But I'm that way. Like I don't like everything one way all the time. And I'm still trying to figure out the perfect organization way. So I don't think there is one. It's just that we just have to switch it up and switch our brains up and whatever. So Melanie, what does that look like for you when you're the organization of the potential thrivers?
Okay, so same thing. I keep a spiral and I write names down, and I also have a calendar. So if someone says I'm, not till next week, or check with me next month, I'm going in my calendar and I'm making sure that next month I'm writing their name down in my calendar so I don't forget to follow up. But also, I use a dry erase board, which is in my office on my wall, that I look at every single day, and I have their names written on it. And so that's my reminder to not forget about them and go back and follow up. And like you said, being prepared and being ready, that comes in all different forms. So like, business cards sometimes are a little bit old school. Sometimes we don't always carry them. I even do like my own little business card on my phone. So if I meet someone out at the grocery store or something like that, and they ask me about my patch, I'm opening up my phone, see if I can connect with them or send my business card off of my phone. But one of my newest one of my newest promoters, actually, that just went 4K last month, actually met her in Palais Royal. And I overheard her conversation talking about twins. And so I was like, oh my God, girl, I have twins also. So it brought up a conversation. We ended up talking for like 5 minutes right there, holding shoes in our arms. And she goes, we should connect sometime. I said, we definitely should. I pulled out my card and I said, here's my card. Call me sometime. She messaged me before she left the store. She said, I just didn't want to lose your number. So sometimes being prepared, whatever that is possibly your next thriver. We ended up meeting the next week for coffee. She was blown out of the water because I had decaf coffee while she had caffeinated. She thought I was absolutely crazy with twins. And we only talked about, each other and families. We didn't even talk the business. And it was like the following week when she was like, okay, tell me about this Thrive stuff. Because I didn't throw it up on her. She knew that I did it. She saw my card, she saw my patch, but it was just that whole conversation and getting to know each other. And she just joined and went 4K last month. So you never know who you're going to meet. It's just kind of being prepared.
Yay. Sorry, I was not shaking my head at you. I was shaking my head at my 14-year-old that, they've kind of been sick over here, and he hasn't had a fever all day. So he comes in all of a sudden showing me he has a fever and he can't go tomorrow. And I'm like, I need to see that thermometer. We'll do this when I get done. I'm like, get out of here. Because, life happens around here, right? We're moms and life is crazy. But Yeah, so I love that. Like, guys, did you catch that she said they just talked about them and they just connected that way, and as that relationship built, and then here she's like, "Oh, I want this Thrive thing," and now she's her newest 4K rank earner. So, um Lydia, you had a newer person that took a bit too, didn't you? What, and that's some newer messages too, even. What did that look like? I just want everybody to kind of get just some brainstorming ideas, because you need to hear multiple messages or thoughts so that you know it's not the same message. It's not, it just depends on the person and the relationship, and when their time is their time. And at the same time, it's also just send a message. Like, don't overthink the message. Just send a message to somebody and the conversation will happen, like it'll just start. Like, I'm the queen of starting conversations with strangers. I talk to people at the grocery store. I did way before Thrive. Like, I'm just that person. And like, especially, I've always been one to encourage others. So when I'm at the store, like, I remember this time I was at Chick-fil-A and my boys were a little older, but this lady had like a toddler and a crying baby, and she literally looked like, I'm just gonna leave them all here. Like, she just had that look, like she didn't know what to do. And I just leaned over and I said, it gets better. Time happens, and it does get better. I said, is there anything I can do to help you right now? And she was like, no. She's like, but thank you for that. Because I think she had that thought of, I'm going to have a crying baby and a toddler for the rest of my life, and I was like, it does get better, and it's not always going to be like this, and I just literally just talked to a stranger, and I do that a lot. And so it's the same in your Facebook messenger. It's just reaching out, just saying something, it's just saying something. So Lydia, go ahead.
Yeah, and I like that you said that, Amber, because I think we overthink it because it's social media, that it's like it gets weird. We need to talk to them on social media just like we do in person. It's no different. And I think once like you get comfortable with that, it flows easier. So this particular girl, again, somebody I knew growing up, y'all, but it had been so many years since we talked. And we ended up friending on Facebook. And this is the first message, was back in 2018. It was October. And I said, hey girl, it's been forever. How are you? So it's that approach. It's a new connection. Somehow we friended at that time. She says, I'm great. How are you? And I'm good, girl. Hey, are you still in the Brenham area? And it went on. I told her where we lived now. And then she shares, I said, what do you do these days? I said, we're in the Woodlands, not too far. What do you do these days? She says, I actually just quit my job to pursue personal training full time. What about you? Well, of course, my ding, ding, ding light goes off because I'm going, ooh, she needs Thrive. Like she's in training like this to be really good for her. And so I started sharing, I just said, oh yeah, it's my hubby and I are, we share Thrive, working from home and love it. Have you heard of it? Yes, there's a few people in my area that do it. She's from a small town. And then I asked her, cool, yeah, we love it. Have you experienced it before? No, I haven't. I heard it's for weight loss and energy. That's what she said. So I went ahead and explained it. Does everything actually. Send me your email. I'll hook you up with an easy access link to learn more, especially since you're going into training, because we have a Thrive Fit line launching soon and I want you in the know. And then she says, thanks. She sends me her email. So it went real smooth. Got her free account. And let's see, message 4 is finally, I'm sending her the information. This is all within that same time. So that was 10/2 of 2018. On 10/12, I followed up with her. That was like, 10 days later. Hey girl, how are you? Sorry, I didn't touch base sooner. I just got back from Cabo. Wanted to share more info with you. The Thrive Fit line is launched. I told, here it is. I sent her the video. She did not respond.
Cricket.
It was a Thrive Fit girl. She said no. And so she didn't respond. So I kind of let off the gas just a little, let her soak in what I'd sent her already. reached back out to her in November. So it was about a month later. I apologize. Hey, Heather, I'm so sorry. I've been crazy busy. I totally dropped the ball on following up with you. How are you? Then she responded, it's okay. I've been busy myself. I'm well. And how are you? And then I asked her, you know, are you getting your training going? And I said, yes, girl, it's getting that time of year. Because remember, we're in November, so it's getting the holiday. And she says, yes, you know, that she says, yes, ma'am, I know what you mean. She's talking about it's busy. Well, the conversation kind of stopped there. We really didn't go further. And then it was another month, and I reached out to her about, we did a Thrive Christmas thing that year in 2018. Reached out to her about that. She actually turned it down. That was message 8. No, thank you. I appreciate the offer. Not interested. Okay, hope you're well. No big deal. You know, whatever. I said, okay. She says, I'm great. Thank you. Hope you're doing well also. And I said, yes, I am. Thank you. Have a great day. I didn't push anything on her. I just let it go. Then it goes into January. There was a local. I invited her to in Brenham because we do locals in Brenham. Melanie lives in Brenham, so I invited her. And it was, remind you, when did I say she signed up the free account? 2018, right? October 2018. So we're looking at 24th at this point. Her response is, since I sent out the invite, I've really been thinking about it. I would love to see you. And then she named her other friend, Wendy, that thrives too. And I said, join us, girl. Let me know what you decide. So I didn't pressure her and say, come on. I just said, let me know. And I kind of let it there. She goes, let me talk to my husband and da-da-da. So anyway, she then tells me I be there. And I'm like, yes, I gotta do a local. But y'all, it took all that time. I even invited her to another Thrive thing and no. And finally she said yes. Got her to this local, went great. She went home with a 3-day trial and still did not order. She still did not join, okay? So there's some messages in here of me following up with her about the trial, yada, yada. Well, she didn't order, right? How many of that happened to you guys? You follow up with somebody, they've sampled, they're still not on board, and you're just like, what is happening? I thought they liked it, you know? It was not until November 20th of 2019. This is a year. This is a year, y'all. She finally comes back, and I had followed, let me look in here. I had to skip over some messages, y'all, because there was a lot of back and forth. But what happened is my next approach, I realized her Facebook and then came back. Well, she'd been working on this training.
You cut out her Facebook what?
Her Facebook went out and came back, and she changed it because of her training. She wanted a little bit more of a training spin, and she had a different picture, and she had HC Fit with her little logo or whatever. So that approach to her that time was not about her Thrive sample or anything. I'd reached out and said, girl, I love your new Facebook. What's going on? How's it going with your new biz? You know, and asking about her. Well, at that point, she started seeing more Thrive stuff on Facebook once again, and she finally reached out and said, good morning. My feed is flooded with pics of Sculpt and the results people are getting from 10 and 11 days. I'm a visual person, and now I'm a believer. So y'all, she heard the stories. She heard the stories at the local, but she's so visual, it took other stuff from other avenues to get her, and even then, she still didn't like order until she was a customer for 2 months. So she ordered sometime within that few weeks there that I had worked on her still, and she still didn't order right away. It still took a few more weeks. So it's crazy. Like, and now, you know, after 8 weeks of fully being on Thrive, now she's ready to share. Like, she's just, everyone has their time, and she wasn't ready to jump in for the bonuses. It wasn't about all that money. She had to make sure for herself it worked first. And, you know, you got to love people there where they're at, right? Because they have their reasonings behind it or their feelings. So I know that's a little bit newer one, but I did ask a lot about her fitness and stuff in that, you know, throughout some of those messages, but also invited her to things, that personal invitation, and even if she turned it down. So
I love it. I love it because, you know, it's you've got to talk to people first, and you can't just build a relationship just by commenting on 100 people's posts. You have to talk to them. You have to message them. You can't, I kind of relate that to, like, if you're just commenting on a post, kind of like I said, talking to somebody in real life, if you just wave at somebody from across the parking lot, you can't start that relationship. You have to say hi. You have to engage in conversation. So it's the same thing in this, and then keeping that follow up. So guys, here's the thing. We are in a space right now with Thrive, with Lavelle. I don't know what's coming, but I know things are coming. Paul's excited. Jason's excited. Drew's excited. My husband Jason's excited over there. Things are coming, and I know that this is not the time to slow down. This is not the time to give up or be like, well, I'll message them tomorrow. This is the time to get your urgency back. This is the time to get your excitement back, and get off this Zoom and go, you know what? Those girls are right. I can just send a message and go send the message. Start writing names down. Who did you message? What did you say? Like, just who'd you message? I messaged Melanie about her vacation. I messaged Lydia, hey, I haven't talked to you in 10 years. How's it going? Like, just get it out there and keep track of it. And then as they talk back to you, the opening of Thrive is going to come in, right? Don't worry about that. Just start talking to people. And if you've been talking to people, now you need to start looking for that opening, because if you let it pass you, you can still come back and you can still insert it. So don't worry about that. But just do it, just get out there. So I want to wrap this up. Melanie, we'll go to you. What's something 30 seconds that you think people should leave here knowing?
Oh, wow. You put me on the spot. Just send the message. Like you said, I think it was at convention that time where I saw Billy Holderby stand up on stage, and he said, what is the perfect message? And he said, folks, there is no perfect message. Just send the message. And I feel that holds true. Just send the message to make the contact. And if you ever feel that you are down and out and today's not your day, you need to pick me up, my go-to is the 24-hour call, or I keep something saved in my phone. If I need to pick me up, I go listen to that and I get my mindset right back into where I need to be.
I love it. Hey, I'm going to answer this question really quick, and then Lydia, I'm going to ask you the same thing. They said, do you create the free account for your customers or ask them to create it? So my thing is, I like to ask them to create it. Sometimes they're like, hey, can you just send that to me? Can you just send me? I like to try to have them create it because then they can see our website. But for the go-to, yes, I'd rather them create it themselves. I'd rather them go and see the video and access it themselves. Sometimes, yes, we have all, hey, give me your email. I'll just send you that real quick. I will say a Zoom that I did the other day with Sonia Lamprey, she said, and I love her wording. She doesn't say account. She basically said, like, she puts out there about, I'd love to get you started on a 3-day sample or 3-day mini, or whatever the words you use are, or when somebody asks about it. And then she just says, great, here's my link, go fill out your information and then get back with me with your address. And I love that, like, because we've learned that some people freak out when you want them to create an account. Like, it's free, why are you freaking out? But I don't know, they do, right? So anyway, I love that verbiage, just asking, hey, here's my link, go fill out your information and I'll get back with you. Like, it's just like, okay. I actually just used that verbiage the other day and it worked. So, hey. All right, Lydia, what's 30 seconds? You're leaving them with something running off of here. What's that?
Don't overthink it. And the days that you feel like you're overthinking, don't forget all your free. One of my favorite, easiest follow-ups is letting people know, hey, girl, wanted to remind you of a free account with me when you're ready to thrive. I want to be your girl. And because you always have those there. And sometimes we tend to forget sometimes about those that we need to follow up with because we're so stuck on trying to find new. And my last tip would be, sometimes I just tell people, hey girl, if you're cool with it, I'm going to check back with you, or I'm going to remind you. I did that with one of my promoters that's not as active the other day, about double triple. And she was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so crazy. I'm so busy. And so I literally was like, girl, don't worry about it. You know what? I'll check back with you because I know you're so super busy. And she gave me a heart back. Like, so, you know, I mean, sometimes it's just the simple's easiest, you know?
Yeah. I love it. And then, you know, the thing is too, like I said, life happens, things happen, you know, like, especially if you're dealing with moms that have more than one kid, or heck, just little kids, you know, like they say, yes, call me at 6 o'clock. And they're all prepared to get on the phone with you at 6 o'clock, but then their little one spilt milk all over the kitchen, you know, like they can't talk to you at 6 o'clock because they're cleaning up milk, and everybody knows milk multiplies, you know? So like, it's just, but I want y'all to be in that thinking, right? Like, not just that, oh, they didn't respond to my message because it's me, or they stood me up on a phone call. It wasn't you, it was life, and we're all busy. And so I think if we personally know that, and we remind ourselves that life probably happened to them, that we're not scared to reach back out to them later. Hey girl, sorry we didn't get to catch up yesterday. Let me know when a good time for you is. Like, that's a great response, you know, when somebody doesn't answer you or made an appointment with you, you know, whatever. All right. Thank you, ladies. Thanks everybody for jumping on and spending your time with us. Wednesday at, I think it's at 3 o'clock. We'll put that back out. Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we are going to be focusing on stories, how to master social stories and Instagram. Twin is amazing at that. So y'all will see and hear from her on Wednesday, and I'll get the flyer out tonight. Bye, y'all.